Once you finish connecting all your blend shapes, it's time to connect everything to the final geometry. I am talking about the geometry that has the weights of these controls, the main one. Before that, I also added this mouth control here, and I added some blend shapes here. Feel free to add them and to add as many blend shapes as you want. I will open my face model group and I will unhide the head geo with Shift H. Now, I will select the blend shape geo, that is the one that has all the blend shapes that we already connected, and then I'm going to select the head geo and I am going to add a blend shape. This blend shape is going to be called main blend shape, and on the advanced settings, we're gonna change the deformation order to pre-deformation, because we want to have this blend shape deformer behind the skin cluster. I'm going to select them again, apply, main blend shape, and here is our main blend shape. Now I will turn this on, so this blend shape is always going to be on. That way, any change that is on the blend shape geo is going to be reflected on the head geo. So now I can hide the head blend shape geo. So if I move this, our face is working because this one is the one that has the skin, but also the blend shapes. Because this blend shape is always on, so all the blend shapes that are working on our main blend shapes face are being reflected on the main one. I will do the same for the brows. I will select the brows blend shape geo, then the brows geo, deform, blend shape, and remember to have deformation order on pre-deformation, and I will write here brows main blend shape. And there it goes. Now I can hide all my blend shape geos group, and I can hide the geos of the brow, and this is working. And now I will do the same for the eyelashes. If you remember, we have these eyelashes here that has a wrap deformer to the head blend shape geo, so I'm going to do add blend shape 2 to the original one. I will call it eyelashes main blend shape, and pre-deformation. And now we have this blend shape here that is going to be on all the time, the same as the brows. And now we have everything working on this face, and I have my facial interface, and let's test how the eyelashes are working, and they're working. And just so you know, if you want to have the best performance possible, it is always ideal to actually remove these wrap deformers. We have a wrap deformer for the brows and a wrap deformer for the eyelashes. So if you actually want to have the best performance possible and very customized shapes, it will be better if you can remove that wrap deformer and convert them into blend shapes. So you will do something like that, like you can do the shape. So you will do something like that, like you can do the shape. So you will do something like that, like you can do the shape, and then you can duplicate this and start making your blend shapes for all of them, for all the brows. Then you can do the next one, that will be this one, and you duplicate, you move. So you can have duplicates for your brows for all the blend shapes in which they are involved. And once you have all the shapes duplicated, you can remove the wrap deformer on the brows, so this one, with delete by type history, and now you can do blend shapes to the brows. So imagine that we have all the shapes, you can do whatever blend shape here, and you can have actually blend shapes on your brows. This will allow you to actually customize these shapes, like you can modify the shape however you want, and that for all the blend shapes. And also the performance is going to be better because a wrap deformer is heavy on performance, so doing blend shapes is better for performance. But I will not do that because I don't think it's going to have a big impact, because the geometries are very low and this is just for studying purposes. So I will leave this rig as it is with wrap deformers. It's not a bad thing. I'm just telling that if you want to have the better performance and a most customized shape, you can do blend shapes with the brows. but that's gonna take a lot more time, so it's your decision. Now I am going to connect the jaw control to the jaw joint we did on the first lessons. So if you remember, we already have a jaw joint here that has this movement, and I want to have some side driving keys, something like that, some translation on Y and rotation on X when this control moves down. So I'm going to do that with side driving keys. I am going to go to my key, side driving key, set. My jaw control is going to be the driver, and the jaw joint is going to be the driven. I want to drive the translate X and the rotation on X, translate Y and rotation X, and I want to drive the translate Y. I will mark a key here. So I want that when this control is on -1, I want my jaw to have a translate something like that, probably to 0, and some rotation. 30 degrees rotation would be good, I think. Yes. So something like that. I will mark a key. And now we have this movement. And I will do the same for the opposite. So I want that when this goes up, I want my jaw to move up. I don't want a rotation here because it's going to be a little bit weird. So I just want some translate. I will translate this 1 unit. So I will just add 1 here. Okay, probably it's too much, but I will go to 1.5. And I will do some corrective here, so I don't mind about that. I will make another key. And now I have this. Now I also want to have some movement on translate X, and that will be a rotation. Something like that. So it will be a rotation on Z. I will do new keys. So I now want to have as driver the jaw control, but translate X. And I want to have as driven my rotation on Z. That is this one. I will make a key. So I want when this moves to this side, I want this to be -30. Mark a key. And when this moves to the other side, I want this to be 30. And now I have all this movement. Now I am going to make this driving keys linear, so I'm going to select the joint, window, animation editor, graph editor, and I always make my side driving keys to work as linear, so it feels a little bit more organic. I will do the same for the eyes. So if you see I have this control at the center, that's going to drive the rotation of my eyeballs. So I'm going to look for my eyeballs that are here. I want this to be the driven objects, so I'm gonna load them as drivens. And I want this to be the driver. So I want to start with translate X, and in this side it will be the rotation on Y. So I will make some keys here. When this moves to this side, I want this rotation to be 45. When they move to the other side, I want them to be -45. And same to up and down. I will now change to translate Y, and this is going to be rotation on X. So I'm going to change that. I will make a key. And this is up. I want these ones to have a 45-degree rotation, a -45 actually. And when they are going down, I want them to be 45. And with all this together, now we have this. I will do the same. I will make them linear, animation, graph editor, and set driving keys to linear. This is the linear line. So this will feel a little bit more organic. And I just saw that I skinned my eyelashes to the head, so they are not moving with the eyes. So for that, I am just going to remove the skin with skin, unbind skin. I am going to select the head, window, node editor. Here I can see the joints that are influencing my head. So it's right eyeball, head, and left eye, the ones that I want. So I'm gonna take these 3 joints and skip them to the eyelashes. And I am just going to do a copy skin weights from the head to the eyelashes, skin, copy skin weights. And now this is going to work perfectly. Before finishing our rig, let's just add some corrective shape for this one. I want this to be collapsing here on the lip, so I will add a corrective blend shape there. Going to open my shape editor, and I will add this blend shape on the main blend shape actually. So it's the blend shape that only has the blend shape geometry as blend shape. I don't want to add this blend shape with all these blend shapes because this one is actually going to be on the main one. So I'm going to click my main blend shape and add target. So this is going to be called jaw corrective. And I will start sculpting when my geometry is on this pose. And what I want is to move these lips up with the lower lips. That will give us a feeling that is collapsing, but it's really just a blend shape. So it's a lot easier than what it looks. Something like that, that's what I mean. I will fix this later, but this is the feeling I want. And I will do a set driving key from my jaw control to this blend shape. So I'm going to go to animation again, key, set driving key, set. My driver is going to be the control, and the driver is going to be my main blend shape, this one, and I want to control the jaw corrective shape on translate Y. So I will make a key, and when this goes up, I want this to be on, so I will make a key here actually. And when my control is 0, I want my blend shape to be off, I will make a key there. And as usual, I will make this linear too. And now I have this. So it feels like it's collapsing. I will fix this shape later, but this is just as demonstration. And I just spent a couple minutes working on this shape, and this is how it's working. If you see, I also added some tension on these muscles, so feel free to add as many detail as you want and as many correctives as you want. One tip that I'm gonna give you is that if you want to have extra joints on your face, for example here for your lips little controls, or some extra controls on the nose, on the cheeks, on the eyelids or brows, you can have another mesh for this. So you can actually duplicate this one, for example, name it as joints geo, and you can have as many controls and joints here, for example, for these, like little controls or whatever control you want, you can add them on this geometry. And then you can do also a blend shape. So you can add a blend shape to the head geo, deform, blend shape add, and you can just select which blend shape is. In this case, it's a main blend shape, apply, and now you have here another blend shape that is always going to be on. So you can have any influence or any extra joints here, and all the modifications you do on this rig, they are going to be applied also on your head geo. I usually do that, but I'm not going to do that for this workshop, but it's just so you know that you have extra possibilities to have extra joints on your facial rig on another geometry. Sometimes it's harder to add those joints on the main mesh especially because we already have our jaw here. So it's difficult to add extra joints to the lips. So one of the techniques I use is this, to have another geometry and to connect it as a blend shape as we did with the blend shapes geo. And now to finish the rig, I am going to add one extra feature that is very important, that is called squash and stretch. This feature is going to allow us to have more cartoony and exaggerated expressions. I am going to create a lattice on this face, so I'm going to select the face and also the brows, tongue. I'm going to select all the geometry actually, because I want to influence all this area of the head. Then I'm going to click on rigging, deform, lattice. A lattice deformer allows us to modify the geometry. As you can see, I can modify the vertex, and this will modify our current geometry. On the lattice deformer, we have two objects on the outliner. One is the lattice, and the other one is the base. So if you move the lattice, the face and all the geometries that are into this lattice are going to move. But if you move the lattice and the base at the same time, nothing is going to move. The base works as an inverse of the lattice. So I'm going to scale both of them to have the same shape than the head. If you only scale one, your geometry is going to be deformed, so that's why you need to select both. I'm going to do that. Now I'm going to look to my right side, and I will adjust this to my head to something like that. You can also have more resolution on your lattice. If you click your lattice, you will see the history here, and you can add more divisions. So we'll do something like 6 or 7 will work. And now I am going to shape this as a squash and stretch. So I'm going to scale these vertices, now this, probably all of them. On a shape that I like. If you see these kind of issues, this is because we need to change the configuration of your lattice. So you're going to select the lattice, you're going to enter to the attribute editor, then lattice, that is the FF1, and instead of inside, you will change this to all. With this, everything that is out of your lattice is going to work as it is inside. If you click on inside, only the geometry that is inside of the lattice is going to work. So it's better to have it as all. Now I'm going to shape this better. So I want to have some squash and stretch here, something like that. And also a little bit here, maybe. No, I don't want to alter this shape, so I'm not gonna do that. Well, maybe a little bit. But I'm going to skin the lattice anyway, so I don't mind a lot about that. Now I am going to move all this with a soft selection up. And if you turn on and off your lattice, you have some squash and stretch. I will weight my lattice so I don't have any influence on the neck or the chest, so I'm going to select this loop. I will grow my selection. And I will remove these loops. And I'm going to do right click, paint, FFD is for lattice, so I'm going to click here. And I'm going to skin this. Replace to 0. And also this loop. And then I am going to do a smooth for the following loops. And now if you see, my lattice is not affecting this area, and it will feel a lot more as a squash and stretch. You go to -1, it's gonna be the opposite direction. So you can connect this attribute to something that is squash and stretch. I'm gonna do an extra control here. So I'm just going to duplicate this brow control with Control D. I'm going to place it here at the top. I'm gonna change the color of this one so I can identify which one is the squash and stretch. The pink. And this one is going to drive our lattice envelope. So I'm going to connect that with the connection editor, window, general, connection editor. I'm going to rename this control first as left head up squash. And I'm going to load this as a driver, then my head, and the FFD as a driven. I'm actually going to change this name too to up head squash or up head lattice. And I will drive my translate X with the envelope. So now if I move this, we have some squash and stretch here. You can do the same for the jaw. You can have an extra squash and stretch here for the jaw with another lattice. I am also going to rename this as head up lattice. And the other one with the same name, but instead of just lattice, I will add the suffix base. And I'm going to do that exactly the same, but for the jaw. For the jaw, I am just going to add the head, the tongue, and that's it, because the tongue already has the teeth. Then I'm going to do another lattice. And I will shape this just on the jaw area. So I want this movement to be below the nose. I don't want to influence the nose a lot, so it's just going to be on this area. And like that. Same here. And I am now going to shape this. The same, I need to change the outside lattice information to all. This is going to work like that, I know, but I am just going to skin now. So I'm going to skin my lattice. I don't want this, neither this, to be influenced by my lattice. So I am going to remove all these weights. Replace to 0. is actually on the other lattice. So if I click here, I can see both of my lattices. And to replace here, and also on this loop that I missed, to 0. I think it's always better to select the vertices and to do a float, because there can be small weights there, so I'm just going to do a replace there. And same for this loop. And also for the back of the neck, of course. I don't want the back of the neck to be influenced on this one. So I am going to select these ones, paint, and float. So now my shape is only working here. I'm going to spend some time working on this one, but that's the process, and I am going to connect the envelope to this one that I did. I just connected the control to the envelope, so this is working at the opposite direction. For that, I am going to look from the group of my control, that is this one, and I am going to do a scale on Y, and that way the value of Y now is pointing down, so this works like that. And you can select both and have this. If you see, we need to work on the weights here, so I need to smooth all those weights, paint, and I will smooth all this. So I need to activate my reflection so I can work in both sides at the same time, and I will smooth holding shift. I want to have a little bit of influence on the nose, but I don't want to move the nose, and the same for the cheeks. And now this is how it is working. And the good thing of these lattices is that this will work with all your blend shapes. So if you already have a shape here, and then you add your lattice, this is going to work with any expression you have. Now, to finish this, I need to parent all these lattices to my head control, because at this moment, the lattices are not following the head, so if I move the head, it's going to work a little bit weird. So I need to parent all these lattices to the head. Now when I move my head, the lattices are moving, and the squash and stretch is working perfectly. And now that we finished our facial rig, let's just do some cleanup. So I'm going to hide all these lattices we have with Ctrl H. I'm going to make a group for all my rig. It is going to be called any name you want. I will just call it facial rig, in which we will have our model and the rig. I will also make another layer for the geometry. That is going to be this one. So I'm going to make another layer. I'm going to add the face model to this layer, add selected object, and I will change the name to Geo. So this way we can also have our geometry as reference. I will do that. And now I cannot select the geometry, and the only thing that I can select is the controls. Now let's create some poses to test our facial rig.